On this week's Set 6, we're going to look at the run into the playoffs. We're going to discuss Wayne Bennett's comments on Lewis Dodd, and we've got Southern Conference League roundup.
So welcome to the Rugby League Outsiders Set of 6, our weekly news show where we share the good, the great and the noteworthy of Rugby League from outside the heartlands. Let's get into it. Here we go again. First of all, some people have this down as a two-horse race. You don't necessarily agree. It's that final sixth place spot. How you calling it?
Yes, I've had a look at the running for each team who are battling it out for that sixth place. Now, I almost thought this was wrapped up a couple of weeks ago. I had Warrington out of the picture. But if you actually look at the fixtures, who they've got coming up and who each team's got to play, it paints a slightly different picture. So we've got Warrington, Wakefield and Hull all battling out for that sixth place. I think you can say the teams above them are pretty much cemented in the playoffs. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, let me just run through the table quickly if we can. So top of the shop, we know Hull KR, 36 points, followed by Wigan in second place, 32 points. Lee Leopards, 29 points. And then that's part of a three that are very, very close together. Just 2 points split them. Lee, St Helens and Leeds both on 28 points, brings up the fourth and fifth place. Currently, Hull FC sitting in sixth place with 23 points. Wakey, 22. Warrington, 18. And then down towards the bottom of the table, we've got Catalan, 9th with 12. Castleford, 10th with 10. Huddersfield also 10 points in 11th place. And then finally, Salford, sorry state there, 4 points sitting at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, so do you agree with me? The top end of the table's pretty much cemented. The teams down the bottom end, they're not really going to move around much. It's all for that sixth place, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think Saints, Leeds are going to be bouncing around. Right, I can't see them dropping down into sixth place or dropping out of the top five. I can't see them getting above the top three. So apart from a little bit of juggling around and you know, moving up and down, that they're not going to change too much.
So I'll start with Warrington. Warrington currently on 18 points. So these are the fixtures that they've got to play on the run up to the top six if they make the playoffs. So first game, Catalan home. Right. Do you think they can win that?
Yes.
There's a chance, isn't there? Giants away.
100% can win that.
Within the Salford at home.
Oh, well, almost guaranteed win.
So you got 6 points there in next three games. Then they've got Lee. That's a tricky one, but it's not beyond the realms of winning. Hull FC away. Very chance they could pick up a victory there. And then they've got Hull KR away, which...
What are you going to say?
They're not going to win that one.
No, I tell you what,
unless Hull KR have got the League Leaders' Shield wrapped up and all the rest of it at that point.
Yeah, but I mean... This is the thing with Warrington. On paper, with some troops back, they can beat any side. Any side. But I think what we're saying there is they're almost guaranteed 6 points, potentially 8.
Yeah.
Maybe
10. Maybe
12. Like, I can't, like I said, I can't see it. They've got to go on one hell of a run. But, so, yeah, I think 6 guaranteed, maybe 8, possibly 10.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to flip here. I'm going to go to Hull FC, who currently sit in 6. I'll tell you why in a minute. Right, Hull FC fixtures, they're currently on 23 points, hold that 6th position in the table.
Yeah.
Their run isn't great, though, going into this. So they've got Lee at home this week. Tricky fixture. Very tricky fixture.
Well, you've gone for a...
In our predictions show, yeah, I went for a Lee win in that. Right, they then go to St Helens away. Saints absolutely smashed it this week, played brilliant stuff. Leeds Rhinos at home, another tricky tie. Hull KR away, Warrington at home, and then Catalan at home. So I'd say there's a strong possibility of picking up 4 points.
I was thinking 4, yeah.
After that, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, so 4 points would take them to 27 points overall, with Wire picking up 6 points, that would take them to 24 points. So
yeah,
they're just a few.
But yeah, there's a couple of games could swing it either way. So it's
they're in the race.
It's not done and dusted. This is it, right?
Agreed.
Here we go though. This is why I've got Wakefield as favourites. So Wakefield Trinity currently on 22 points, 1 point behind Hull FC. This week they play Salford away. That's a gimme. Wigan away. Difficult. I'd say they're not going to win that one. Giants at home, can definitely win that one. That's 4 points. Then they got Castleford away, can definitely win that one. Hull KR at home, possibly not. Then they play Salford again. They play Salford twice in this back 6 games.
So that's 8 points. I'll take them to 30, which puts them into 6th place.
Yeah.
If it pans out like that.
If it pans out like that.
So if it pans out like that, there's nothing that Hull FC or Warrington can actually do about it. Like with that Wake, you just take that 6th spot.
Well, they've got to pick up wins
they've got to do
against some of those teams that we predict they might not win against. But Wakefield have definitely got the easier run if you look at that, especially the fact that they're playing Salford twice. If Salford are still playing by that point, hopefully they are.
Can we just look at each narrative for each team in turn? So if we start off with Hull FC, and we sort of think about like their terrible season they had last year, to get to that 6th spot, what do you think it'd mean to them?
I think it'd be a great achievement if Hull FC got to that 6th spot this year. Yeah, I mean, last season it was the worst I've ever seen in Hull FC's history. It was a terrible season, wasn't it, last year? So from where they were last year to how they've rebuilt this year, I think finishing 6th would mean a great deal to them, those fans. It'd be a great achievement. And
so then, same question then for Wakey. Obviously, got promoted this year to get, if they got to that 6th spot in their first year in the Super League.
Oh, yeah, it'd be unbelievable because they came into I imagine most Wakefield fans came into the league without too much expectation.
I don't agree with that. I think they had expectations because they've watched this build for the last 2 years. You know what I mean? And I think they could smell the fact that they could do well in Super League once they got in there. I genuinely believe that.
I mean, I think I remember speaking to some Wakey fans earlier on in the season, and they were kind of sort of saying, if we finish around 7th or 8th, we'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
A top 6 finish, we'd be absolutely ecstatic with. So they're in with a very good chance.
So they had the expectations of being mid-table, didn't they?
I think so, yeah.
So, and maybe overachieving if they get into the playoffs.
Overachieving if they get into the playoffs, definitely. I think Darryl Powell said something similar as well. I think he was like, if we can get playoffs, we've exceeded expectations this year. So, yeah, they're in with a good chance.
Well, just before we started recording, Darryl Powell, they've just released an article saying that Darryl Powell is going to bring some changes based on their loss at the weekend.
Yeah, we're a big drop on it.
Yeah,
big drop from how they've been playing.
He is not happy with that, and they've got a stiff week of training coming up ahead of this week's game. But he's definitely got his eyes set on this 6th spot.
Yeah, so on to Warrington then.
Yeah, Warrington. I mean, I almost feel like it would be an injustice if they got to that 6th spot. Based on some of their performances this year.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be fair. I know, sport's not always fair, at all. But it just, I don't think Hull FC and Wakey can let it happen. They can't.
I don't think Warrington will quite make it. Although the run isn't too bad going in there. They've just slipped up too many games they should have won. But if you were talking about expectation at the start of the season, Warrington...
Title contenders.
I mean, the top 3 is where we'd have had their expectations for this year. So the fact that they're even battling it out for 6th place is a bit of a disastrous season for Warrington.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll just finish with, I think, probably Wakefield are in the driving seat.
Yeah. So good luck. Going to enjoy watching that all play out. Okay, before I move on to the next tackle, I just want to tee up the conversation that Karl had recently with Clint Goodchild, who's the owner of York City Knights, and obviously Valkyrie as well, to be fully inclusive. So what did you take from that conversation in brief, because we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the Williams Weekly, aren't we?
It's great. We dug really deep into like his opinions on IMG, his opinions on the new structure of Super League. Some questions he didn't answer, but I did push him as as I should. Even right down to Ash's talk, it's a really insightful look at an owner that's actually pushing his club. That's the impression I get off him. He's challenging people to be the best version of themselves that he can be, and I think that's why York are doing so well.
Yeah, this is like Joe Rogan meets Rugby League Outsiders, because it was like a 2-hour long recording, weren't it?
Yeah, it's 2 hours.
One clip I want to pull out, and we're going to talk about this in the Williams Weekly at the back end of the show, is that you put it on him. You said, like, okay, what do Australians value most? State of origin or internationals? You know, and he had a very interesting answer to that, which we're going to come on to later on. Right, let's move on to tackle 2 then, and it's that Salford situation, which seemed to be made so much worse by the owners sat in the director's box this weekend, which didn't go missed, you know, by the Salford fans and the wider rugby league community. It just felt in terrible taste.
Yeah, it stunk, didn't it, really? I couldn't believe what I was watching when they brought him up on the Sky TV cameras. I was like, you got some audacity to sort of show your face when this is happening around your club. I found it hard to watch, and I really feel for the Salford fans, and you know, I think they're doing a bit of a silent march out there this week's game, a bit of a protest, and so they should, really, because what's happened to their club is absolutely terrible. However, I think it's worth pointing out that these are the new owners of the club. This isn't where the problem started, is it? The problem started with the last ownership.
Oh, before that, I think.
Well, yeah. So...
No, but they came in with a lot of false promises, didn't they? And, you know, even getting the money into the club right at the start was just like cake and arse. It was just like nothing's run smoothly. And it's like, you know, they haven't got...
And no one knows what's happening. No, we don't know if the money's gone into the club now. Nobody has a clue, do they? And I think that they've just been silent for too long. They actually need to come out and do a press release or address the crowds or something. I think staying silent all the time is just a terrible look. I mean, even the RFL came out this week and made a statement and sort of basically admitted that they'd got this situation wrong, hadn't they? Well, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I think if anybody had... If we go back 12 months, Salford should never have made it over the start line, should they? We wouldn't be in this situation. I think if they could have brought any championship club up who was in the top half of the table, it would have been better than having to watch what we're having to watch at the moment.
Yeah, well, if one thing that the RFL are not guilty of, though, is giving them a chance. They've certainly given them a chance, but it's just gone on a little bit too long now. One person that hasn't been silent, though, is Kyler Moore, who released an article or whatever,
snippet,
a little comment or whatever, saying that they should have pulled the plug on Salford a long time ago, and the RFL have just stood by and watched this car crash unfold.
But it's a bit of a daft statement to make, isn't it? Really, because they couldn't pull the plug because the money that they would have been fined by Sky for Salford not fulfilling the fixtures far outweighs the money they've had to put in to help pay wages and stuff like that. We already know that. So it's a bit of a clickbait title, that is really. Sort of, we can't let them go to the wire. They've got to make it to the end of the season. And as clubs are doing, by all means necessary, now they're lending them players to get it over the line. But it throws in doubt the integrity of the competition, doesn't it? So imagine that a team makes the playoffs or wins the League Leaders' Shield on points difference or something like that. The fact that we've had a different Salford team going out almost every week, and now it's not even a Salford team, is it? It might be wearing a red kit, but it's not a Salford team.
It's not. I mean, you say that like they couldn't really pull the plug, but this requires special measures, this situation, and it would have required special measures right at the start. Now, whether that was drafting in whoever sits top of the championship or something, you know, you could still fulfil games, you know, albeit it's not Salford's name in, you know, on the Sky listings or whatever. And although that would be an absolute shit sandwich, it might taste better than what we've got right now. So I don't know, it's a weird one. And then or do you draft another team in and you just have a standard 28-point win for any club that plays it? I don't know how we do it. None of it would have been brilliant, but it might be better than what we've got right now.
Yeah, can you imagine what people are thinking when they tune in and maybe they're going up, they're watching the first game of Rugby League and there's like 80 points on the board.
But they're not. They're not tuning in, are they?
Well, no.
Even their fans have been decimated as well. And I don't think having the owners sat in the director's box would have done them any favours. If it was me and my club, I would turn my back and I'd be supporting bloody Oldham or something now instead.
Yeah, I wonder if they needed security again into the ground.
I don't know if they've got the bollocks. I'll put it. Yeah. Clearly, it's just. Yeah. Anyway,
what did you make of the? It was like a show of solidarity after the game. The FC players and the Salford players all linking up after the game. What did you make of that? There's mixed opinions on this.
Yeah, I think it's a nice sentiment. Does it make a difference? Not really. But I think it would have made it definitely. I always remember this metaphor, right? So stick with me, Carl. So there's a guy walking down the beach, right? And there's thousands of starfish all over the beach, right? And this guy sees this little speck in the distance. And someone's down there and he's picking up the odd starfish and he's throwing it back into the sea, And he gets down there and goes, mate, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. You're never going to save all these starfish. It doesn't matter. I saved that one. And it's a little bit like that. All these players... It means so much to them, although that show of solidarity isn't going to save the club. Do you know what I mean? But to those individual players, the likes of Brad Dwyer, putting his hand up, just wanting to pull on a shirt and to play, for this club, is just incredible. I mean, a load to the players and to the fans. Let's face it. Does it mean anything to those owners? I don't even know if they registered what was going on there. So it is a bit of a sorry state.
I don't think they care, do they?
They don't appear to.
They don't appear to care. Well, no, they don't. I mean, yeah, it's one of those rugby league things that you wouldn't have seen that in any other sport. You definitely wouldn't have seen it in like football or anything like that, would you? I know we have intense rivalries on the field, but I suppose it's good to see that we have a bit of solidarity off the field. Was it a good look for the sport? Not really. I don't think it was a good look for the sport.
No, it's not, but it's kind of forced into it. Just speaking of other sports, so we went to a football match. We won't say who.
I can't believe you've said that.
No, we did. We went, to cover that video, do some video production there, and within like 20 minutes, like 5 people had been arrested from the crowd. The goalkeeper had been hit by a chair
and a flare.
You know what I mean? I was sat there going, well, it's a great atmosphere, but fucking hell, can you imagine this at Rugby League?
Is this normal?
Yeah, and by all accounts it is.
Yeah, that is normal.
I don't think it's normal, but, it was the first game of the season, so, it was heightened emotions and what have you. You're saying, like, would other sports have a huddle? Each player's, they just want to batter each other.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, it was an enjoyable occasion, wasn't it? Although we digress.
Massive Saddlers fan here, Craig Williams.
I weren't going to say who it was.
Well, I've dropped you in it now.
Right, let's move on
Come into a football stadium near you.
To be honest, I did enjoy it, like, live in person. I've never watched that on the telly.
No.
Never, But I watched it in person and I really enjoyed it.
Can we move on?
It's a great finish, though.
People are clicking off this video as you continue to speak.
Well, wait till they see the next little tackle. Right. So before I get into the next tackle, obviously you can tell that you can see that we've got our caps on. All right, these are posh baseball caps. This is a blackout version of an NRL, the Newcastle Knights team. Carl, you've got
Canberra Raiders, mate, from the rugbystore.co.uk, the only place where you can get NRL new era caps. You see, I nailed that much better than you was, mate.
Yeah, well, I didn't really know the brand, but I do love it. I do love my new cap, although it is cutting the blood off to my brain right now. So big shout out to the rugbystore.co.uk if you want to get yourself an NRL, and they got Super League cap, lots of other, lots and lots of different new era caps there. Check them out and tell them that the Outsiders sent you. By the way, whilst we're talking about caps, we'll just do a little a quick change here. Carl's getting his on. We was sent a couple of caps here by Andy Maisie and his team at Rochdale.
Make Rochdale great again. They won as well at the weekend. Go on, get your Donald hat on, mate. There you go. It suits you, doesn't it?
Well, the red.
Yeah, just that style hat.
So yeah, make Rochdale great again. This was on the back of their campaign to bring more supporters into the stadium, and you know, they had some great incentives, didn't they, to get people in. They were dishing out free tickets across the community, loads of incentives to get teams in, and we thought it was really good, and we covered it at the time. And on the back of that, they sent us these brilliant caps. The make Rochdale great again caps. Thoughts, Cal?
I'm wearing mine this week, mate. Definitely. Yeah. Also, just mentioning Rochdale, they did their superhero incentive. I think it was last week. It might have been last week or the week before. Really great attended event. They had the Hulk style kit on, like we had the Marvel kits a few years back. Just doing great stuff in the community. Fair play to them.
Yeah, good effort, and thanks for the caps. Tackle 3, and we're going to go down to the Southern Hemisphere, although it does involve a British player, and that is this Lewis Dodd situation, which I heard reported as possibly one of the biggest signing blunders of all time. What's your thoughts on this, Carl?
Yeah, that's what the Fox League guys were calling it on the NRL, weren't they? Basically. But the thing what you got to say with this one, Lewis Dodd was signed for the Rabbitohs before Wayne Bennett arrived. He was still at the Dolphins at the time. So it wasn't a Wayne Bennett signing, and I don't think he's ever really got on board with it. Lewis Dodd has been thrown into sort of reserve grade footy all year, hasn't he? And he's not really had a chance to showcase his talent playing for the Souths. He's I think it's 68 minutes is all he's played in his natural position for the Rabbitohs this year, and it's ended up where basically the Rabbitohs have gone and said, "You're not really wanted. We're putting you up for sale," even though he's under contract at the minute. And they're looking for a new club for him.
A huge contract, though. I think this is what throws a bit of fuel on the fire, in the fact that it's such a big contract. Like we know that the Aussies are a bit more open about signing fees and stuff like that. So £650,000 for this contract.
Yeah, massive, isn't it?
And this is, I think, why they're calling it a big blunder. I think if it was like half that, it'd be like, well, we'll take a punt. Literally take a punt, and it's not worked out. Like that kind of level signing, in my opinion, although I'm not the most educated on Aussie, on the NRL signings and stuff like that, like you would expect someone of that level of contract to be featuring week in, week out in the first team.
Oh, 100%, yeah. That's why it's a blunder for him, isn't it? They've really rolled the dice on him, and then Wayne Bennett's just found no place for him. He just don't rate him at all. I don't think he's... I think he said something a little bit derogatory at the start of the season when they first signed him. It was like, "Oh, are you the English kid then?" Or it was somewhat along those lines. So I don't think he was ever really a fan of him anyway, and I don't think Lewis Dodd really had much of a chance. Looking back at Dodd's career, what did you think when the Rabbitohs signed him at the start of the season?
I thought it was a strange signing, if you like. But I think Lewis Dodd is still young enough that like he's mouldable.
Yeah.
And I took it as like, well, it's a very lucrative contract, but they see a project in him. They see some development going on. They can turn him into a player or fit him into a team to play a particular role that would suit them. That's not happened. Whether it's a change of coaching staff or whatever, it's not happened. And now, he's in this situation. Now, I did question his value. And no offence to Lewis Dodd, he's far better player than I would ever dream of being. But I did question whether that was his true market value at the time of the signing.
Yeah, I think we both did, didn't we? And I do think Lewis Dodd's a really good player. We watched him for Saints, didn't we? He was a great player. Whether he was that sort of level player, I questioned it at the start of the season as well. I think one thing with Lewis Dodd, what probably took his market value so high, was the St Helens Penrith game in the World Club Challenge where the Saints went down under and they knocked Penrith over on their own backyard, and he kicked the drop goal, didn't he? He kicked the drop goal to win the game. And I'm wondering whether somebody made a decision on him based on that game only and hadn't seen much more of him.
Or maybe they needed to make a signing and there wasn't anyone else around, or they thought that they could. I don't know. It's just a strange one. Something that I haven't seen mentioned is like, how must Lewis Dodd be feeling right now?
Oh yeah, I think Wayne Bennett's comments that came out in the media this week were terrible. I think really unprofessional. Actually, I think I ain't got the exact quote in front of me.
That's a bit unprofessional, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he was questioned on Lewis Dodd about his form, and I think he said something about, oh well, maybe it's his ability that you should be looking at. So and whether he thinks that or he doesn't think that. I think saying that out in the press it's not good. Like you say, how do you think Dodd's feeling when there's headlines like that being thrown all over the papers?
Well, that's like a blame pushing exercise, isn't it? That if the questions are kind of heaping the blame on the coaching staff, Wayne Bennett himself, and he's just fended it off with, well, look, you're looking in the wrong place here, so. But yeah, I think you could have handled it a different way. But Wayne Bennett's always been a straight-talking, straight shooter.
Straight-talking is a prickly character, isn't he?
Oof, I thought you said something else then. That's getting clipped up, that is.
Well, we've seen him, when he was in charge of the GB side, and he did a terrible job of that. And I know he's hailed as one of the top NRL coaches of all time, but he has made some big blunders. And to be calling Lewis Dodd out like that, I thought it was crap. I thought it was really unprofessional.
But the situation we're left with now is some club, if it comes back to the Super League, could potentially pick up an absolute steal here.
Yeah, because he's contracted with for the Souths for I don't know how many years.
3 years.
3 year deal, right? Yeah. So
years.
Whatever his value is when he comes over to the UK.
Do you think he's going to come back?
Yeah, I don't think another NRL side will touch him now unless somebody takes a bit of a gamble. But his name's become mud, hasn't it, down under? So I think he's likely going to end up back in the Super League. But the Rabbitohs will have to pay the rest of his salary. So whatever English Super League side pays him, the NRL, the Rabbitohs have got to make up the rest of his pay because he's contracted. So. It's win-win for Lewis Dodd, really. He'd come back to the Super League, he'd probably absolutely tear it up in the Super League, and he's going to get paid an absolute fortune for the next 2 years. So
which club do you think he'd slot into?
That's interesting, isn't it?
I mean, you've got to think. I mean, there's probably a few. Huddersfield, Castleford, Warrington.
I think he'll be wanting to aim a little bit higher.
I know he will, but
he's likely not going to go to Saints. Saints will have they've got too many halfbacks. Wigan, no. Lee Leopards?
If Lamb moves on, but I don't think he's a direct replacement for Lamb, is he?
He's not a direct replacement for Lamb, but I put Lee as a possibility.
Yeah. Hull KR?
Possibly, yeah, possibly. I don't know if he...
Catalan?
Definitely, I could really see him going to Catalan actually,
especially if Luke Keary.
Luke Keary's going, isn't he? I mean, he's not good enough for Super League. I've watched him all season, mate. I reckon Catalan. I reckon he could do a job at Catalan.
Yeah, he'd definitely do a job at Catalan. So whether he'd go, and maybe he would if he'd set his sights on being abroad for 3 years. To go to the south of France, it's not too big a jump, is it?
That'd probably be a good move for him, wouldn't it?
And it could be the rebuilding of him. It could be the rebuilding of of his career. Because you're right. I mean, you're saying his name's tainted in Australia. That can't be good for your market value in the UK. You know? So you've got to be going on historic results and what he's done in the past. And is he going to come back with his confidence jolted? You just don't know. It's a weird one. It really is. Right, let's get into the viewers' mailbag then. So I picked out a couple of comments here, Karl, that I thought are worth mentioning. First of all, from channel member Thor Elson, Rugby League Outsiders. Well, it was a great game. If you're a Saints fan, got to say we were certainly outplayed tonight. He's of course talking about Wakefield. Interested to hear your thoughts on the tackle, the high shot on Lachlan Walmsley, mitigation to turn a red card into a yellow. What's your thoughts on that?
It was an absolute shocker. It really was a terrible. We don't like to put referees down, do we, on this show? But the fact that they looked at it on screen and still sent the decision down as a yellow card was a shocker. There was no mitigation there at all. He was off his feet. It was a direct shoulder to the head. His head took the full force of that shot. I don't know what the mitigation was. I think that's what annoys everybody a little bit. And once upon a time, it was like, right, the mitigating circumstances was he was sliding into the tackle or he'd lost his footing or whatever. It was like, yeah, there's mitigation on this tackle. Well, what was it? Because I didn't see any. It was a terrible decision. That it should have been a straight red.
I'm going to boil this all the way down to the aim of bringing those tackles down, and that is to prevent brain injury.
Yeah.
Did that go anywhere to preventing brain injury? Not one bit.
Not one
bit.
It
was a clear shot to the Swede. It's just it was a terrible, terrible incident, really. And I'm not calling for someone to be sat down for a week or pick up some points for a dangerous tackle. But we're here to protect our players, and that just didn't seem to do that.
No, missed the mark a long way there, didn't we? Big time.
So that's our take on it. What about you, Thor? By the way,
he sent a letter in as Thor as well.
Whilst we've got Thor,
it's like Blue Peter this
on the line. We have got our first bit of fan snail mail sent through the post, which I just want to read out. So please find enclosed a little something for you and Craig, just a small token of appreciation for the excellent YouTube channel. As a Trinity exile living in South Wales, it's great to watch an engaging, informative and genuinely entertaining channel. Clearly talking about me there. The banter reminds me a little bit about the great Eddie and Steve-O when they were in their heyday on Boots and all. So my question on that, Karl, are you Eddie or are you Steve-O?
Terra firma. T-R-Y, mate. I'm Steve-O, 100%.
Steve-O. Right, okay. So thanks for that thought, and thanks for the little key rings that
mate.
will...
quality.
As well.
It's made these for us, digitally printed.
3D printed.
Love that. It's going on the keys to the studio, that is.
Right, next comment. So from long-time friend of the show, Rugby League History. I picked this one up, and he's put some musical notes. He's obviously chanting in his own head here, and he's like that, on our way to the grand final, our way. How do we get there? I don't know. How do we get there? I don't care. All I know, Saints are on the way. Right, so he obviously made a comment that Saints could get to the grand final, and Rugby League History obviously... he's commenting on that.
Yeah, knows his stuff, doesn't he? And if you watch Saints this weekend against Trinity, mate, you can't back against them now. I think if they can start putting those performances together to the end of the season, who knows what's going to happen with Saints this week. It was a great performance.
I don't think there's other Saints fans that don't quite believe it. We had another comment saying not a chance of Saints getting to the grand final based on their performances, and that Wellens just doesn't have enough tactical awareness to get them there and to do a job. So anyway, check out Rugby League History's channel. He goes into lots and lots of different things Rugby League based, and also does a great NRL prediction video as well, so check it out. Moving on then, Danny said, I can actually smell that changing room, takes me back to the mid-80s. And this was on the back of our Bedford Tigers video where you popped up out of the
bath.
Out of the bath, and then went on to do a bit of willy watching. Check out the video if you don't understand what I'm talking about. And they say that pictures don't, you can't smell a picture. But when you see an old school rugby changing room, it does conjure up all sorts of smells, doesn't it?
Wintergreen.
Yeah, wintergreen, you know what I mean? Just like...
What was the other stuff called that you used to have
Deep heat.
Deep heat, that's... Oh, my God. Yeah, that takes me back.
Yeah, we used to have deep heat fights. We'd walk past and just lather a bit of deep heat on someone's knackers. It was just like... The joy, the fun. I put it inside someone's shorts.
Deep heat was always a good idea before the game, wasn't it? It's like, warm your legs up. Man, in the shower after the game, it was like burning my skin off. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
it was terrible.
Talking about pre-match, do you remember the pre-gym drinks and that came on the market, and there was one called No Explode or No Explode or something like that. I took some of this stuff, and I don't normally bother with this kind of stuff, but I took some of this stuff before a game, Right, and we went on and won the game, but I was crying at the end of the game. I was like, I'm never touching that stuff again. Never touching it again. But you're right, that changing room literally takes you back to the mid-'80s, and albeit we're missing some shoulder pads nowadays. We don't have them anymore. But that nostalgia is brilliant. Thanks for your comment, Danny.
Should we throw in the video at this point?
Yeah,
trailer.
I've got a little trailer from that video if you've not checked out already, which you can see here.
We're in Bedford, a town with huge aspirations, and not just on the sporting field.
We're at Goldington Road for Bedford Tigers' first home game of the season.
Bedford Tigers are a club with huge aspirations to move into the professional ranks. And what a place for that journey to start.
To join us as we take a look of Southern Conference Rugby League from the heart of an outsider.
Okay, tackle 5, and we are getting towards the business end of the conference leagues right now, and it's all but wrapped up down there in the south. We're going to check in with Ian White again. We welcome him back to talk us through all things Southern Conference. We're also going to touch on London Broncos a little bit later in the conversation as well. So welcome back, Ian.
Hi guys, thanks for having me on.
No worries, Ian. So just give me a little bit of a rundown of how the season's gone and who are in the playoffs for the Final Four.
Yeah, well, I think it's been another really strong SCL season this year. I think we're sort of seeing a steady uptick, I guess, in quality and competitiveness over the course of the season, which has been great to see. I think when I was on with you guys last time, sort of the table was a little bit more wide open than it was now, but the top 4 spots are all kind of locked up. There's one more regular season round of games to go. But yeah, it's been another really strong season, really encouraging. We've seen some teams get stronger, teams like Bristol. But the old favourites have stayed strong, West Warriors, Hammersmith, London Chargers to an extent in that as well. So yeah, it's been another good season, and looking forward to the playoffs that are coming up over the next couple of weeks or so.
So Ian, for anyone who doesn't know, so how's this table standing at the minute? Who's top, second, third, and fourth?
Yeah, so top spot we've got West Warriors, who are on 24 points. They've got 12 wins from 13 games so far, and then Hammersmith are right behind them in second on 22 points. So Hammersmith could still technically top the division this coming weekend if they beat Brentwood on Saturday, and if West lose to Bedford. Bedford themselves, they're in third spot on 18 points, and then London Chargers are bringing up the last of the playoff spots in fourth on 14. Bristol just missing out. They're on 10 points in fifth. They did actually record a decent win on the weekend. They beat the Eastern Rhinos 52 points to 26. But unfortunately, it just wasn't enough to get them into that last playoff spot. So yeah, that's how the top 4's looking.
Would you say that some of the results have been much closer this year compared to results in the past? I mean, we've seen some incredible scores from the likes of West Warriors and Triple H in the past as well. Has it been closer?
Yeah, I think when I came on last time, I said Wests and Hammersmith, they're always going to be strong at this level. They're always going to be setting the pace, so to speak. That being said, Hammersmith picked up a couple of losses during the course of the season. Chargers had a good win against them. I think when we last spoke, I covered that one. So yeah, it's always going to be difficult to dislodge those two from the top of the table. But I think it's encouraging when you look at the likes of Bedford Tigers and Bristol as well. They're really strong teams. They're really strong outfits, and they're sort of coming into form as well. So. West and Hammersmith are always a tough one to beat, but I think the overall sort of standard of the league, like I say, is seeing a steady improvement.
So Ian, is there any chance? I mean, I know from talking to you that Hammersmith and the West are the two favourites for the grand final. Is there any chance of the Bedford Tigers or the Chargers pushing into that grand final spot? Could it happen?
Well, I don't know. It's going to be a tough assignment. I think. You can be encouraged that Chargers have obviously beaten Wests once already this season. It's the only loss that Wests had. Yeah. So there's some encouragement there. I think Bedford are one to keep an eye on. They've got potential, I think, to beat anyone on their day. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I think Bedford went down to Hammersmith on the weekend, 40 points to 20, which sort of indicates that it's still a tough assignment. But when it comes to knockout rugby league, knockout football, and anything can happen, as the old adage goes. I think it's going to be tight, and we'll just have to see how it pans out.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thanks for keeping us up to date on the Southern Conference League. Just switch fire to London then, and London putting in some good performances this season as well. Yeah,
it's been a solid season. I think obviously you look at where the team was sort of back in October time with David Hughes stepping away, and where it's come from that point has been good to see. And I know that there's obviously a lot of discussion, isn't there? A lot of talk around who's going to be in Super League moving forward, and the mechanics and all the politics behind that. I think purely from a playing perspective, you've got to look at what Mike Eccles has done and what this squad has done to keep themselves competitive and keep themselves in the hunt. The playoffs probably look a little bit outside the reach now, to be honest. But you got to give a lot of credit for what Mike Eccles and the staff have done there. And I guess we'll see how it pans out and where the Broncos end up next season. It could be League One, it could be Super League. It's not particularly clear, is it?
Do you think London Broncos have felt the benefit of having Gary Etherington's input at the minute yet, or is it still a little early yet?
Undoubtedly, yeah. I think you bring in an administrator like Gary Etherington, he's always going to bring something to the organisation, isn't he? I think particularly given the situation that the Broncos were in when David Hughes stepped away, it was kind of a skeleton outfit, really. So I think they have seen improvement. I think looking at what Gary Etherington said in the media and sort of the fan forums that he's been to, I think he's very much looking for investment. He's looking for people to come in and support the work that he's doing financially. This isn't a project that he's carrying on his own back. So we need to see how that pans out and who does involve themselves in the club and who does come in. I think a lot of that is contingent on where the Broncos play next year. If the Broncos are in Super League, is investing in the club as an attractive proposition? I'm not sure, but I think Gary Etherington is probably the man to sort of figure that out, isn't he, and lead the club forward. So, it's a tough spot on the league table at the minute, but I think more broadly it looks encouraging, hopefully, moving forward.
And just touching on where London may or may not be playing next year, you've followed them for quite a few years. Where do you think their sort of spiritual home is? Because they've kind of been all over the place, haven't they? Where would you like to see them stay where they are at the minute?
That's a great question. I don't see a facility or a place for them at the minute that is better than where we are at Plough Lane, to be honest. I think Wimbledon in time, it can become that kind of spiritual home, as you say. I think for a long time, the Broncos were in and around that kind of Richmond, Twickenham, sort of West London area, which is a very strong rugby area in general for both codes. I think those days have kind of passed now. And I think, Mike Eccles, when he spoke at a fan forum sort of at the back end of last year, he was very clear about the strength that being at Plough Lane brings to the club. I think if we move away from that stadium and that facility, then it becomes increasingly difficult to bring the club back into Super League, because it brings a lot of positives, and you need to be in a modern, up-to-date facility, don't you? And particularly in a city like London. So hopefully we can make that, we can make Plough Lane that spiritual home moving forward. It's going to take time, but I think it is the best place.
Ian, switching lanes completely now. I know you went back home to Hull this weekend. We have spoke about the match against Salford and sort of the events there. If you could summarise the kind of the atmosphere there and what you took from the game, what would you say? Yeah,
I mean, it was certainly one of the more unique rugby league match watching experiences that I've had. I think there needs to be a tremendous amount of credit paid, obviously, to the players on both sides and the supporters as well for putting the game on and getting behind the Salford side. It was a really tough assignment, wasn't it? But I thought the players and the supporters handled it magnificently. look, with my Hull FC hat on, it's always great to see a Hull FC win, and I'll never complain about that. I think, the broader context behind it made for difficult watching, I think, didn't it? And it's kind of a damning indictment, really, of where the sport has been allowed to get itself to. So yeah, it was a unique experience. I must admit. I think kind of the home crowd, were maybe running out of steam a little bit when the tries kept racking up towards the back end of that second half. But hopefully it's kind of a big moment now where people can sort of make some broader decisions and take some broader action, because I think what we saw on the weekend, I don't think it's sustainable moving forward. We can't let it carry on in the way that it is, and that's not a slight on those Salford players or anything like that, or the staff. They're working their hardest, aren't they? But it wasn't pretty, was it? But I think there needs to be some action from higher above, really.
Ian, as you left the game, I'm looking for like a one-word answer, really. How did you feel after the game?
Oh my!
Completely putting you on the spotlight.
I know, yeah. I'm trying to think of all the descriptive words. Resigned, I think. Resigned.
I think that gives.
I think we always knew that there was going to be an FC win, didn't we? I think that we always knew that FC were going to come out victorious. Resigned, I think, would probably be the word, and that sounds quite negative, but it was just a strange atmosphere and a strange afternoon, and.
Ian, cheers. Thanks for joining us again. I've got one last question, another one-word answer. Do Hull FC make the playoffs, yes or no?
Oh, yes.
Right, okay. Ian, it's been a pleasure speaking Southern Conference Rugby League with you and all things London and Hull this week as well. So I appreciate you calling in, mate, and hope to catch up with you after the SCL finals, if that's all right.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic, yeah. And I just wanted to give you guys a shout out as well for your video on Bedford that came out during last week as well. It was a really good insight, and I think it's some really good accounting of the work that's getting done at Southern Conference level. So it was a great watch, and hopefully lots of people have gone out and given it a view.
Cheers, Ian. Thank you very much, mate. See you later.
We're going to move on to the Williams Weekly then and tackle number 6. Now, Karl, you recently did a really detailed, in-depth, Joe Rogan-esque interview with Clint Goodchild of York City Knights and the Valkyrie. And one thing that we want to pull out for is this little clip where you put it on his toes and said, right.
What do Australians value more these days? State of origin or international rugby?
Here's what I'll say.
Go on. Yeah, so we'd been talking for 2 hours at this point, and I really wanted to get an Aussie's opinion on what they thought of this Ashes series, and not just what they thought about the Ashes series, but what their thoughts on international rugby as a whole are. Because my perception of Australians at the minute is that they value state of origin far more than they value international rugby. And I can see why, but as Englishmen, we don't like that, do we? We value international rugby so high. We don't have state of origin. So, I put the question on him.
Well, I think there's 3 parts to this, right? There's 3 sides, if you like. So it's whether they value state of origin more, and there's loads of evidence that they do. Yeah. Like they roll out the literal kitchen sink and everything for state of origin. You know what I mean? And it is an amazing.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And lots of people, I've seen other comments, people saying that they favour state of origin more than international. Then you've got internationals with the likes of the Kiwi, Samoa, Tonga. Who else can we throw in the mix there? Fiji, maybe. But so there's that.
Yeah.
But then there's also the internationals against England or brackets Great Britain. Do you know what I mean? There's like 3 parts. I don't think they favour their Pacific Island neighbours playing them as much as state of origin.
No.
And I wonder whether the draw of England is as strong as it has been in the past. I think you're right. I think before we go into this clip, my opinion right now is that origin is everything, and unless you play origin or then you ain't getting into green and gold. But also, I don't know if they'd turn out for an Ashes in Oz.
Yeah. So
cue the clip.
Yep. What do Australians value more these days? State of origin or international rugby? It's state of origin.
Here's what I'll say.
Go on.
When we lost the World Cup to New Zealand in, I think, 2008, I can tell you in 2009, our international focus shifted dramatically. You know, I think that we like the spectacle of state of origin because it is very guttural.
Yeah.
Like for a kid who grew up in the bush, Australia's poorest town, like Sydney seemed further away than London. Like it is a different world. I've never seen the beach. Like, it's different. They have everything. We have nothing. We're going to get them. Whereas in an Australia versus England thing, it's we will always be this, I don't know, dirty little cousin down south that, you know, is just trying to throw stones at the regal folk up north, and we take it very, very serious.
Because over here, we you're obviously proven us wrong. We think that people in Australia don't really care about the international game. Would you say there's some truth in that?
If we didn't care, we wouldn't be winning it.
I suppose so.
That is the impression I've got for certainly the last 10 years that state of origin has took much more of precedence than the international game. Although I do think it's changing. At the minute. I do think it's changing.
But I get that.
So there we go, Karl. Clint, from an Aussie's point of view, like we said, you know, they love state of origin. Now, first thing, he had to think long and hard about this. It weren't a clear-cut answer. Yeah. He thought long and hard. He was considered in his reply. So, but he reckons taking on England, Great Britain is like a must-win. It's got to be a must-win.
Yeah, it's still sort of. I still aren't convinced.
Yeah,
I still aren't convinced.
It's just because that considered it, to stop and have to think about it. It does speak volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I mean that's the big engine that state of origin's become, I suppose, isn't it? It's just. It's the first date they look out for on the NRL calendar as soon as the fixtures are brought out. But I do think the NRL are starting to realise now that we need a strong international game for the sport to grow. The NRL are looking globally now, aren't they? Looking to push into America and fucking hell. Into PNG and other areas. I think they're really wanting to expand the sport globally, and I think they've realised that international rugby goes hand in hand with that. So I think we will start to see a focus in the next few years of more international rugby. However, what we do have to do is make sure this Ashes series is the best Ashes series it could possibly be. We've started on a good foot. We've sold 2 stadiums out already. Wembley's selling well. So, yeah, I think there's a lot riding on this Ashes series. England have got to be competitive. It'd be nice if we even won it, wouldn't it?
Well, if we got a home win now.
Oh, yeah.
Because what Clint was saying, I think it was in a previous question, you know, so check out the interview because he does go in really deep into a lot of this stuff. He talks about when the Kiwis won the World Cup and just how hungry the Australian side became on the back of that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because they'd been winning. They'd been winning comfortably, hadn't they, up until that point, and I don't think they expected that one. And yes, ever since then, it's kind of been Australian domination again, hasn't it? So but let's see where it goes. Hopefully, international rugby continues to thrive.
Right, so I'm really keen to get your opinion on any of the tackles that we've had this week and any of the stories that we've talked about. Keep the comments coming. Obviously, the best of them we'll handpick a few out to mention on next week's show. And I'd also like your input on the Williams Weekly. What do you think? You know, from where you are, maybe we get plenty of Aussies watching this show as well. What's your take on it? Let's get an idea of how the ground actually lies. What's coming up in the future, Karl?
There's 3 videos this week, so depending on where you found this one. So there's this set of 6. We've got our prediction show, which goes out every Monday, and we've also got the extended interview with Clint Goodchild, which is an absolute cracker. He really dives deep into everything York Knights and everything it takes to run a professional rugby club, and especially one that's pushing for Super League. It's a real good watch.
And the final word from me, let's make Rochdale great again.